this content is for kids.
It's not for kids.
Isn't that what I said?
No, it's not for kids. If you are 13 years or younger, this is not for you. Do I have to kill somebody in order to actually make that point across?
No, man, you don't have to kill no one.
Wait a second.
No.
When we return to our planet, the High Court may well sentence you to torture.
He likes movies, we like movies. SeptumSin versus the world. SeptumSin versus the world. SeptumSin versus the world. SeptumSin versus the world. I'd buy that for $1.
Greetings all, and welcome to another episode of the Vlogcast. This is SeptumSin, here to you from the magic of movie land. A magical, though slightly shadow-torn realm of things and possibilities that can glitter like gold, yet in the end may turn out to be only tinsel. Of course, this is one of our, actually we're going back old school. We're doing a full-on, like, regular podcast format where we're recording it and editing it and then throwing it out. God, it's been a while. Almost feels like we're in the same room, even though we're not.
Yeah.
So it's been a year since we've gone into lockdown and worked together in the same room on this show. But this time we're back into the Oscars season again. And we're going to be talking about our predictions for what we think will be nominated. We've both been busy trying to watch as many, or at least listen to as many rumors and things as we can. And based on what we've seen and know, we're going to try and put together some educated guesses as to what may or may not be on there. Critics' Choice Awards happened, and that was interesting. The Oscars, though, kind of throw a wrench into it that makes it different from the Globes and the Critics' Choice.
What's that?
Which is that they're willing to accept films that...
Nope. That does not make it different.
So
that does not make it different. The Globes did that. The Critics' Choice did that. Everyone's doing that, and it's bull. Okay, so I'm going to jump in here real quick.
Before you say it, why then did Judas and the Black Messiah not win a single award for the Critics'
It did win a Globe, didn't it?
It
was nominated.
Not Critics' Choice Awards. Not a single Critics' Choice.
Okay, maybe not the Critics' Choice. Maybe not the Critics' Choice. Did Billie Holiday or United States versus Billie Holiday or The Father?
Nope, none of them were up for a Critics' Choice Award, to my knowledge.
Okay, no, I take it back with The Father. Sorry, but the United States versus Billie Holiday, and I know there was another one. But anyway, what I was getting ready, this is my rant, and I'm going to go ahead and rant real quick. This is one reason why he has seen double the number of films I have seen this year, is because I'm pissed off. I am absolutely pissed off at the Oscars, at the Globes, and at every other branch that's pulling this BS. There is no justifiable reason for adding 2 months to 2020. Think about that for a minute. I actually had this completely random thought today. The idea that they did this, that they were like, we should count January and February, means that somebody somewhere said, you know what, I don't think 2020 was long enough. Can you imagine the nerve to say that? But basically, the idea is everything that was released in January and February of 2021 is eligible in the 2020 race, which is BS. Pure and simple. I don't care if Judas and the Black Messiah is the most kick-ass movie of the decade. I don't care if the United States versus Billie Holiday is a phenomenal film. I hear they're both great. They should probably win next year. But they're not 2020 releases. They are robbing space. They are robbing awards from films from 2020. And it's bullshit. Pardon my French.
Well,
and that is one of the reasons I have not been watching a lot of films, because I'm just too angry about this BS. They're robbing deserving films of nominations. And this is going to be 1 year where I may not care about the Oscars. And that's saying a lot, because I usually get really into it every year. But this year, I get the extended submission windows. I'm all for that. I get giving the viewer at home a longer time to get caught up on your movies by pushing it back to April. I get that. But then undermining it by saying, well, wait a minute, all the February movies count. That completely screws the people at home. You know, we thought we got a reprieve, but no, we didn't. So it's like, no. The Academy, the Hollywood Foreign Press, and everyone else that pulled this, shame on you. Shame, 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 shame on you. There, that's my rant.
So I'm going to be devil's advocate here. Because I do agree with you. Don't get me wrong. So let me make sure you understand when I say I agree with you. You hear me, right? When I say this before I go into my devil's okay, devil's advocate position.
Okay.
COVID-19, the ultimate homewrecker, has caused significant delays in a lot of the release windows. And a lot of and in fairness, had COVID-19 not come out, the movies, a lot of them, including Judas and the Black Messiah, had originally had slated releases for December of 2020. It was the majority of the big films that were released had planned on those and ended up having to delay until the first of the year. Which would...
That's one thing.
Hold on, before let
That's
me finish
one
my
thing.
point, and I'll get with you. Which, if it was allowed to go and they did the Oscars as normal, those films would be robbed of Oscars for the 2021 race, because the Oscars don't give a shit about January, February releases in a normal year. And much stronger films probably would have been hitting... Well, not stronger films, but... other strong films would have probably been hitting at the end that they weren't prepared for. I do think that I think films were going to be robbed one way or the other. How they're going to do it going... But I do think, on the other end, that you might just have to deal with letting some of these films get robbed, because 2021 is going to be a shit year for releases. Because a lot of the films we saw released in 2020... including these other films, had most of their filming done, or had a lot of it done pre-pandemic. Now that the pandemic is moving on, it's going to be a lot harder to do this. We're going to see a lot scanter releases in 2021. It's going to probably be a very dry year, and sadly, it could mean...
Hey, we still have a Bond film coming.
Yeah, that's true. But I guess I think that it could mean that we're going to end... that this could be a permanent thing, where they push it permanently from now into February. I just don't know how they can push it back once they open that box.
And that is part of the reason I'm so pissed, because I like a neat calendar year. It already pissed me off that the international category was 2 months off of the regular, because that made no sense. And now we're going to possibly go forward where it always makes no sense, because it's always 2 months off. And that's like, no. And we'll put one specific example of a movie getting robbed, a February release getting robbed by a February release. Okay, I love Daniel Kaluuya. He's a great actor. He's probably great in Judas and the Black Messiah. But I guarantee you that he is one of the reasons nobody is talking about Hugh Grant for The Gentleman. And Hugh Grant was phenomenal in The Gentleman, but nobody is talking about that. And I guarantee you, Kaluuya is part of the reason why.
Yeah, we just watched it last night. It was a fun departure for him.
Yes.
Sure.
And then, you know, and then I don't know, are any animations from after the new year that are up in the awards race?
I don't recall.
I can't remember.
Maybe Over the Moon, but I don't think Over the Moon even. Really.
I think Over the Moon was a 2020 release.
Yeah, so
all the ones I saw.
Yeah, I think all the ones that are going to get nominated are 2020.
Right. But I am willing to wager that Ride Your Wave would have had a ghost of a chance if we had fewer films crowded in at the tail end of that schedule. It wouldn't have had a great chance because the Academy hates anime, but you know that's a whole other issue. But anyway, so like I said, that's my big rant out of the way. There's some other weird stuff too. With it's 5 of the films on my list aren't even in contention because the Academy probably doesn't think they are films.
Yeah.
And one of the big contenders was Small Axe, but there's contention about whether it is a series of features or whether it's a TV miniseries. And the first 2 films were initially set to be released as feature screenings at film festivals. To me, that indicates they are films. But they're not even in contention because it was apparently ruled a TV series. So it's been a year that's got some weird ups and downs and all-arounds. And I don't know. There have been a lot of good ones. But, yeah. But tonight, I think we are going to do our. We're going to put on our predictor caps.
You know, it's actually you know what's weird is with the vaccination rate, there is always, though it's a very very low chance, there is a chance of having an Oscar get together, which because of how late they're doing it. Because they did release that anybody who had the vaccinated, anybody who had the vaccinated, anybody who had the vaccine should be fine together. And
when worst comes to worst, it could probably do a cookout and masks when watching, that sort of thing.
So but you never know. I think we can. I think we can salvage it.
Right.
And there are some positives that came from COVID. I think that the Oscars are being a little bit more open to what can be submitted with them.
Right.
So long as they have intended a film release, they're not being a stickler of it has to be in a LA and Cali theater for a week.
Right. Well, they are saying you have to make it available to our people and that sort of thing.
But, that's easy with streaming. And so possibilities, I think.
Right.
So we'll see how it goes. I mean, I like the theater aspect of the Oscars, but I do think that it's very snooty that it has to be in a LA County theater, and it has to have had for this amount of time.
That was one thing. That was one thing they opened up this year that I really hope they keep open. I think they opened it up to 6 or 7 markets. I can't remember how many, and I can't remember offhand which ones. I know New York. I know Chicago. I want to say Atlanta was one of them, and I think there were like 4 other markets. So they did open it up to more markets. That opens it up a lot more to random viewers who could go see it. I don't think the RVA was part of that list, which they still don't love Virginians apparently. But did they add Charlotte to the list? I can't remember.
I don't know. I know that they added East Coast places, which is good. New York.
Well, it's like I said, New York
and a while, but I'm glad to see it. It needs to.
I feel like Miami was probably on the list, I mean,
I think that the Oscars, the Globes, and the Critics' Choice Awards are kind of on the spectrum. I feel like the Globes are a little bit more on the populist side. The Critics' Choice Awards are more on the snooty side, and the Oscars have always been kind of in the middle of that. And I don't want to put People's Choice Awards because People's Choice Awards are way on the other side of that. I mean, freaking Kissing Booth 2. God damn. And Bad Boys 3 are the films that they say are the best films of the year.
Which one are you talking about?
People's Choice Awards.
Oh, okay. I missed that for some reason. I'm sure the Critics' Choice picked First Cow and Nomadland for pretty much everything.
Nomadland won almost everything.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. So this year, the qualifying cities were Los Angeles County, City of New York, the Bay Area, which is San Francisco, Marin, Alameda, San Mateo, and Contra Costa, Chicago, which is Cook County, Illinois, Miami, Miami-Dade County, Florida, and Atlanta, Fulton County, Georgia. So those are your qualifiers. So still pretty localized, but much better than before. And drive-in theaters counted, which is good.
So we'll go on ahead to our predictors for the year. I don't have any hope that I'm going to get everything right, but I have a shot. I have been uber busy this year, just constantly ignoring everything else, essentially, for these films. And sometimes I'm happy I have, and sometimes I'm not. I've watched over 80-some films this year that have counted within that Oscar period, so January to February of 2021. January 2020. I watched 80-some films from January to February 2021.
See, for me, there is no need to differentiate the eligibility period because I have not watched a single 2021 film yet. I intend to. And for the record, I'm not saying that I don't think Judas and the Black Messiah or United States versus Billie Holiday they're probably excellent films and probably worth watching, but I just wanted to focus on the actual 2020 films. And even that, like I said, I just haven't gotten to as many as I'd like.
Well, in any case, I cheers to you as I take a drink of some iced tea.
Good times.
Before we get started.
Okay. I could use some of that, but oh well.
You didn't see any
I probably shouldn't.
You didn't see any shorts this year, right?
Nope.
So I'm going to just lead off with what I have seen. And I'm pretty sure that the majority of
I'll
these
bring
will
that
be
list
animated.
up.
And like every year, the short films that are the actual short subject films make themselves totally unavailable to anybody but the Academy. So, you know, I haven't seen any of those, but I have seen 4 documentaries and 4 animated features for short subject. The first one, I'm going to start with documentary with Hysterical Girl, which is I believe on Netflix. If I can remember where they're from, I'll make sure to throw it out. Actually, no, Hysterical Girl was not on Netflix. It was on YouTube. I got it on YouTube. It was leaked by accident, and I want to say I forwarded the link while it was up, and had Spanish subtitles, but even though it wasn't really Spanish. It was a very good film. It kind of had a Me Too vibe to it in relation to Sigmund Freud. As somebody who practices in the arts, I do not like Sigmund Freud. He is a hack. He is a sexist, and he is a monster. So, with those things being said, I have no problem calling Sigmund Freud out for the monster he is. So, good job. Then there was the Speed Cubers, which is a Netflix short subject, and it's a very good one about these kids who are doing Rubik's Cube competitions. Very impressive, and one of these children is on the spectrum, and actually has helped and shows how it helped him come out. So very good fodder. Then there's What Would Sophia Loren Do, which will not be the last time we hear the name Sophia Loren in this discussion. and a very, very touching documentary about a woman who kind of used Sophia Loren to help her guide herself through life. And finally, and that one was on Netflix. Matter of fact, 3 of these are on Netflix. So, you know. And the last one I saw was A Love Song for Latasha, which is one I think has a strong chance of winning. And that is about the girl who pretty much was one of the major catalysts of the LA riots. I don't know if you remember, but there was a young woman who was shot in a convenience store because they said she was trying to steal some orange juice. And it's a very sad thing. And this was a tale about one of her closest friends at the time, talking about them, their relationship, and an experience she had at that same store just prior to where she had gone back in to grab something for the mother with the money in hand, and the woman had the gun right in her face, threatening to shoot her. So it's just that way. So very powerful tale. Then, as far as animated, If Anything Happens, I Love You is the Netflix one. That's my favorite so far to win. It is probably one of the most heart-wrenching short animated features I have ever watched. Basically, it's about a couple trying to come to terms with the loss of their child in a school shooting. With the title actually being Her Last Words. So, this is one of those where I would rather give spoilers out because you really need to know what you're getting into before you get hit with this thing in the gut. Kapemahu. That one's on YouTube is where I found it, and it's a nice little historic animation of Hawaii and how we colonizers have screwed it up. And then 2 on Disney Plus, Out, which is again it's a nice one for the time about a gay couple with the son trying to come out to his parents and admit that he has a boyfriend and all that. And then Burrow, which was a cutesy. I think that was a Pixar one. In any case, it's about a rabbit trying to make a new home, and it keeps burrowing into the wrong places. So it's very cute.
Right.
So those are there, and again, they're attainable. I think that if somebody, once the nominees are announced, I would say you could probably get a good number of them watched. If you save up for like $40, $50, you could probably have access to like 90% of the nominees by the time you get there, and we'll get to that as we go. Any case, I will hand Best International to you. And
so I thought the point of this video was to predict the nominees. Are we not doing that as we go, or? Oh
yeah, I mean those are my predictions also for the nominees.
Okay, well then I'll get my predictions. I'm going off primarily of. I'm going to be honest with the shorts, primarily off Gold Derby, although he has talked about a few of these. Documentary short, I agree, based on what I've read, A Love Song for Latasha is almost guaranteed a nomination. I'm probably going to go with Do Not Split, Hunger Ward, Abortion Helpline, This Is Lisa. And then probably between Colette and Hysterical Girl, I'll go with Hysterical Girl because he liked it so much. Then for the, for the animated short, I have the listing here. I just had it. There we go. If Anything Happens, I Love You is the one that Gold Derby has called as the likely winner. Burrow, Out, Opera, and Kapemahu are the ones I had listed. And then for live action short, I'm going with The Letter Room. I think that was the one they called as the most likely winner. The Human Voice, The Present, Two Distant Strangers, and Daye. Did you give predictions for that category?
I'm going off of what I've seen this year for my list. So
okay,
it's kind of the opposite of how we've done it in the past, but by necessity for your part this time. But it's kind of interesting how we're going to reverse our roles this year. at least this time.
Right.
Because I'm going off.
Okay, well, like I said, I was thinking the entire point of this video was to offer up our predictions. But anyway, so we'll go ahead to the next. You said international feature?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Again, I ain't seen crap in this category, unless you want to count Ride Your Wave, which the Academy doesn't, or that My Hero Academia movie, or what have you. Based on everything I've heard going back for months, another round is going to be a nominee. There are no two ways about it. It is guaranteed a nomination. Collective also is a strong contender. I mean, again, until Honeyland, there never was a film in documentary and international, but I could see it happening again. And I'm going to say the French film Two of Us is a strong contender, if only because it's a French film, and the Academy does love their pretentious, boring French films. And I know this is a favorite of yours, but I've been surprised that La Llorona has a lot of buzz behind it.
It does.
And it's apparently only the third Guatemalan film ever submitted in this. Technically not this category. This is technically a new category. It's basically the old category with a fresh name. International feature. Functionally, it might as well be the same damn thing. And then the last one, I think it's the Taiwanese film that's A Son, if I remember that correctly.
Yep.
But there's also a Russian one called Dear Comrades. Yep. Mm-hmm. And Dear Comrades has more buzz, but I think politics might come into play here. The Academy might be more willing to throw support behind Taiwan than Russia at this point in time. So I'm going to go with A Son.
So, the shorts aside, and I consider the shorts a special case because they're special.
They're special.
But a lot of my viewing, which I have utilized to try and help select, has been due to a lot of research and based on what I can get access to. So, for me, I have 5 picks, but I have seen more than 5 international features. Matter of fact, I had one that was knocked off of the list. I had 2 that got knocked off of the list. Another round has still been very unavailable, so I have not seen. For me, I mean, La Llorona was an amazingly well done film. It was more of a foreign feature drama suspense than it was a horror film, but had a lot of horror elements. So I can see it as a contender. Taiwan, A Son. Again, amazing film, very well done. By the way, La Llorona is on Shudder, which you can get a free trial to. But be careful with those guys. If you don't cancel a day early, because they'll force you to keep on those little bastards.
Kind of like Amazon.
Yes. A Son, I think A Son is definitely on one of the streaming ones. It is, I want to say, on maybe Netflix, is it? See, I have all these listed. I just didn't list them on my little prediction thingies. But it is very well done. I think it does deserve a spot on the list. If anything, yes, it's Netflix. And a very well acted film. Darn it. Stupid computer. Okay. I do think Russia, Dear Comrades is a biggie. I do think that is one that should go, that will go on there this year. Subject matter wise, it is quite good. Variety has that up as as one that they feel is a favorite, and I agree with them. It is something. It is one of those that leaves you sitting there with your mouth agape at that end, that they would even have been allowed to get away with making that film, considering the current regime. It is a very well done film, and I've even recommended it to Light and Shadow, who doesn't really like a lot of modern films because it's done with the sensibility of a 60s film. So again, very artistic, very well done. Collective I just saw, and I'm only really putting it on there not because I really liked it as much as I think it has a much better chance than some of the others. And then finally, Mexico's I'm No Longer Here, which Netflix is. It's also very well done, very good about a kid who is trying to get by, runs afoul of some gangs in Mexico, has to flee to the United States. But all he really wants to do in the end is dance. That just does not sound like an artsy, artistic Oscar winner.
I've heard that one mentioned too as a strong contender.
Oh yeah, every one of the ones that I have put in has had a mention one way or the other in talks. So mine have legitimate potential. It's just,
and I should also notice that category and 8 other categories and all the shorts.
Yeah.
And though there was a single announcement where the Academy put out a whole bunch of short lists at once,
yes,
and I did use that to narrow things down. So there's a lot of stuff that should be nominated that didn't make the short lists.
All of mine are considering the short list that I have seen.
Yeah.
Because actually, I shared with you that one article, I believe. So
yeah.
And I guess I'll go into documentary feature.
Okay.
So I've seen a lot of documentaries this year, and which is funny because in the last month I went into it with one. So I feel I've increased my knowledge by.
I think I've seen one. I think I've seen one.
So I'll just go down the list of what I've got as my potential nominees. Crip Camp: A Disability Revolution, which amazing film about a camp, but they actually nicknamed Crip Camp for obvious reasons, and the fight for the ADA following that, utilizing a lot of the skills they learned in that camp in the 60s. And as somebody who supports the ADA, of course I'm going to be rooting for that one. And I think that it also has a good shot. Welcome to Chechnya, also one that has a strong shot of getting in there. Very difficult one. LGBTQ rights in that area are not very well maintained, so very good to see. All in, the fight for democracy. The weakest of what I think will make it, but one I think should be looked at. It's about Stacey Abrams and her fight for the vote, which is there, and also, by the way, is going to be one of my song contenders. The Mole Agent. If you haven't seen The Mole Agent, that's on Netflix. You should see it just because it is a fun and great documentary. Same thing with the death of the Something Is Dead. I can't think of his name, but it's also one.
Dick Johnson is dead,
which got knocked off by Collective. But is there. But The Mole Agent was a really great one. That one was also on my foreign film until the Collective knocked it off. It's about this older gentleman who was
Chilean, isn't it?
Yep. He was basically tasked to go undercover in a nursing home in order to spy on on the care done there. It's just it's a great little film.
Okay, so that was your 5. Huh?
5, yep.
I will say when I was going through like the critics' best of lists before, long before any of the, like when I was still excited about trying to figure out what was up, there were 3 documentaries that I remember coming across again and again and again and again and again. Collective, Dick Johnson Is Dead, and Time. And I do think Collective and Time are pretty much guaranteed to be nominated. I think they are probably two of the safest bets. I had heard a lot of mention of Crip Camp going back for months, and I think that is also a safe bet. From everything I'm hearing, Welcome to Chechnya does sound like a very safe bet. I want to say Dick Johnson is Dead is a safe bet because it sounds fun and it sounds like such a good counter programming to
really
the
good.
others.
It is really good.
But I have a feeling it will be edged by All In, the Fight for Democracy. I think that's likely. It's between the two of them, I think. Yeah.
Dick Johnson is Dead is pretty good, and it just got kicked off by Collective when I saw it the other day.
Right. Well, like I said, of all of them, Collective is the one that's guaranteed that slot. That has been raved about for months. I mean, people have been talking about that for, so. But then again, we thought the same thing about Won't You Be My Neighbor, we thought it was guaranteed.
Biggest freaking snub. You talk about stuff that grinds my gears.
And I still think they go through alphabetically, which does hurt the chances for Welcome to Chechnya, but,
I don't know. But, with the LGBTQ rights stuff going on these days, that one might.
That's true.
It's a very strong contender.
Right.
Go for the your best original song stuff. Sis.
Original song, okay. Bear in mind, I have not had time since I made this list to check out the music, and I've only heard a few of these in the first place, and I don't even have the movies listed by these. I'm going to try to remember the movie. These are the ones that I have seen several films that had original songs, some of which were quite excellent, but a lot of them are not even in contention. So you can help me out, hopefully, to remember this. The ones that I've seen that I know were nominated were... or on the short list.
Mm-hmm.
I know Green was from Sound of Metal.
Mm-hmm.
Wuhan Flu is from Borat's subsequent movie film. I don't think either of those is a likely contender, but they're in the mix.
Yes.
I want to say Speak Now was from One Night in Miami, right?
Yeah.
And Hear My Voice is from The Trial of the Chicago 7?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Those two, I think, are solid contenders. Mm-hmm. They're really good. I enjoyed them. They're really good songs. Both movies had good music overall. And I think there's going to be a lot of anthemic songs this year. I really do.
There's a ton of them.
Turntables is from All In, correct?
Mm-hmm.
That one I think will be nominated. I cannot for the life of me remember what Fight for You and See What You've Done came from, but those were the other two I mentioned as probably...
Fight for You is Judas and the Black Messiah.
Right. And that's one of the reasons. Because of that bullshit, I think it's going to be nominated because of that. And then See What You've Done was from... it's a lesser-known film. I can't remember.
No, that one...
And then I've forgotten, actually, two of these I've also heard. I did see Minari, so Rain Song was from that. And I did see Mulan, so Loyal, Brave, and True is from that. Rain Song was quite good. I wouldn't mind seeing that get a nod. But, yeah, so those are the ones I went with. Turntables, Fight for You, See What You Done, Speak Now, Hear My Voice.
So... The ones I have, oddly enough, I am usually shit at this category every year. But this year I've actually listened to a lot, and I went back and I re-listened to a lot of the ones on the short lists. And the ones I got for the 5 were Speak Now from One Night in Miami, EOC from The Life Ahead.
Right. I thought that was a contender.
Fight for
That's
You.
the Diane Warren song, isn't it?
Yep.
Okay.
This is not the only time you'll see The Life Ahead mentioned from me.
Yes.
But it won't be very much more. Fight for You for Judas and the Black Messiah. Rain Song for Minari. And Turntables from All In, Fight for Democracy. All good songs. I favor Turntables and Rain Song, really, but they're all really good.
I mean, I liked Rain Song. I don't remember it strongly, but I remember liking it. I'd be surprised if Minari manages that particular one, but I could be wrong.
Minari has a chance. I think Minari's going to get a number of nominations. I don't know if it's going to get a lot of wins, but I think it's going to get a lot of nominations.
I think so.
So I'll go on to original score. So of course, Soul is the one that's got a high one.
Yeah.
So Soul is one of them. And then, actually, I'm just going to run down my list, and I'll come back and talk about why. Soul, Mulan, Da 5 Bloods, The Life Ahead, and Minari. All of them have pretty strong talk from people about their scores, and fuck Mulan. But Mulan does have a lot of excellent artistry attached to it. I mean, just because something is evil by its nature does not necessarily mean that there is no talent in it or beauty in the evil.
And Mulan did have great music.
But Soul, I think, is going to be the favorite. But it does have amazing music. Da 5 Bloods also had some good music to it. Really good Spike Lee film. The Life Ahead, again, that's an excellent soundtrack. A very nice, calming movie. And, of course, Minari. Minari is a powerful film. It's just on its own. And the score is just as powerful.
Right. So the ones that I had here, the ones that I have seen but I did not pick were Mulan, Minari, and Mank. And all of those I thought were excellent music. I thought they were all... four. The Invisible Man was the other one. But The Invisible Man is an outlier. It's likely to not get it. But it's still not bad. Minari did have wonderful music. Mank and Mulan both had great music. I also came close to picking Tenet, which I have not yet seen, but I imagine Chris Nolan is really good from top to bottom on his productions. The five that I picked three that I have not seen and two that I have. And the two that I have, one of them I went out a little, based on what I've seen, I'm going out a little bit on a limb with Da 5 Bloods. I do agree the music was excellent, and I feel like it's one of the stronger categories for the film. And I think the Academy will want to honor the film, but they won't want to shower it with praise. You know, if past Spike Lee films are any indication. And so it's kind of might get it. Then the one that I've seen that has a strong category, a strong likelihood based on what I've read and seen, is The Trial of the Chicago 7. It did have good music. I don't know that it really jumped off the page at me, but it has a lot of following for the music. News of the World has some following, and I'm going to go with that, if only because James Newton Howard is a favorite of the Academy, if I remember correctly. Soul, I do think it's Pixar. Their music is always incredible, and I think there's a strong chance. And the one that I have not heard much about the film itself, but I've heard that it is excellent, and I've heard that the music is phenomenal, and it's Alexander Desplat, and his music is usually phenomenal, is The Midnight Sky. So I'm going to go with that as the other contender.
I'm sure you'll be mentioning it again very shortly. So lead us off for visual effects.
Okay. You I thought you said I'll lead us off. Sorry. So visual effects. Okay. Visual effects is one where I've seen a couple of the contenders and a couple of the not contenders. I'm a little surprised Bloodshot made the short list, but I have very little doubt that it has little shot at an Oscar nomination. Still need to see that myself. Of the ones I have not seen, I think the strongest contenders are likely to be Tenet and The Midnight Sky, just based on what I've heard about both of them. And of the ones that I have seen, I'm actually going to say Mulan is a very strong contender in this category. And also because Disney has been getting a lot of nods in this category for their live action. Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn actually has a good shot here at a nomination. It was the best comic book film of the year.
Yeah.
The effects were arguably better in New Mutants, but there's no way in hell that would have gotten a nod. You know, talk about stuff getting pushed back.
Yeah.
And then I'm a little surprised that everyone's talking about this for visual effects, but I think Mank has a strong contention here, and I'm going to give that the fifth slot.
You know, one thing that, and this is not on my list, but I thought was weird. Variety has been putting their bets on Soul getting a nomination for visual effects.
That was one that Gold Derby had listed as a strong contender as well.
When has Oscar ever given an animated film visual effects? Or nominated?
Kubo and the Two Strings.
Okay.
That's like it.
But that's a different thing entirely, though. There's a lot of hands-on and puppetry with that. So I don't know. I don't know.
Maybe
I'm just maybe I'm just too cynical about the Oscars, but I just don't see it. For me, my list is going to read similarly: Midnight Sky, Tenet, Mulan, Birds of Prey, and Bloodshot. So again, as you said, Bloodshot is on people's lists for odd reasons, even though it might be further down. But it is a beautifully done film effect-wise. And Birds of Prey, of course, you talked about that enough for me to say it. But Mulan, as I said, Disney's production value, really on point. Tenet, as you would expect. That's all I really have to say about Tenet. It's as you would expect. It's Christopher Nolan. And Midnight Sky is a spectacle. I think that Midnight Sky does it even better than Tenet.
Nice.
So, George Clooney, you did yourself good. So best sound. Boy, we're going to be seeing some mirrors on some of these.
It's worth. We should probably note what they did differently this year.
They combined sound mixing and sound. Was it sound editing? This year into one. Which I feel bad because it's more for the people who do it, and those people know every bit of difference between the two. So. It's not for us who are dum-dums watching it from the sideline. I'm sorry.
Right.
It's more for those people who... The Oscars have always been for the people who make the movies. We just get to enjoy watching it and partake in their knowledge. Because in a way, that's the reason why a lot of us... I don't know about you, but that's why I like the Oscars, is because... This is the choice of the people who make the films. These are the people who should be the experts. Right. But best sound, Midnight Sky, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. So first appearance of that one. Soul, Tenet, and The Five Bloods. I really don't have much to say about the others because I've already said it, but Ma Rainey's sound is probably one of the best aspects of that film. It's going to appear in other things that I bring up list-wise, but I think things that it most deserves are in that category. So,
So here we have probably the first time tonight where I have one that I not only have a very, 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 very strong opinion on it getting a nomination, but I have a very strong feeling it will win that didn't even make your list.
Oh.
And we'll get to that in a minute. But the ones that I had picked, I have seen Da 5 Bloods, and I do think that is a strong contender in this category. So much so that my initial underlining of Birds of Prey got crossed off. I still think Birds of Prey might be a spoiler in this category, but not likely. I did go with the 5 Bloods. Of the ones I have not seen, Tenet, Soul, and Ma Rainey's Black Bottom did also make the list. So, but the 5th one, the one that I think actually has a solid chance of winning, because it was a film that was all about sound, or lack thereof. All about sound, was Sound of Metal. That film not only needs to be nominated, it should probably win this category. And it is one that I consider guaranteed to win. Guaranteed a nod. Let's put it that way. I do think Tenet and Ma Rainey are very, very much, they might as well be guaranteed. In a perfect world, Soul would be, but y'all have heard my rants about how often animation is overlooked. Animation should dominate the sound category.
Yeah.
Animation should dominate it. We should be talking about Soul, Onward, Ride Your Wave. You know, that should be the sound category as it currently exists. But no, it always gets overlooked. But I think Soul might sneak in there.
And I agree, Sound of Metal might have made my list. The problem with mine is that I watched it so late in the game, so a lot of it was I had already had my lists made up, and then I kind of bumped the last minute watches in there. And a lot of my stuff was made off of like basically looking at small lists. And it could have been any one of those on the lists, and then I used my viewing of it to tell me whether it, whether it should go over the top of the others or not. So,
and incidentally, Gold Derby does pick Sound of Metal as favored to win.
Yeah, I mean, oddly enough, this year I'm going to try and, like I say, I'm going to try and go for what you have done in the past. Which is based off of my viewing and instincts, which is which I think I'm going to fail miserably. But that's but this is one of the.
You'll probably do. I think we may actually end up pretty close in overall number.
I think this is the one of the few years that I've seen as many as I have. So it's a I've. And I rarely put this much effort into it, so it's one of those. But I do think that you're right. I think Sound of Metal probably would have, if I'd seen it earlier on, it probably would have been on my sound list. So I agree with you. All right, so go for the biggest category in the Oscars next, Best Makeup, the one with the most nominations.
Okay, well, they are up to 5 this year, apparently.
Oh, they're allowed 5? Okay, well.
Yeah.
I only allowed myself for 3, but I can definitely add 2.
After years and years of being the redheaded stepchild of the Oscars, probably because they always nominate the most random stuff. Makeup and hairstyling is up to 5 this year. And I'm going with, I ended up kind of on the fence between a couple here. Of the ones that I've seen, I think Mank is very likely to get a nod here. It's very, very likely. And I actually did pick Harley Quinn. I'm going to say Harley Quinn because that's a better title than Birds of Prey for that particular movie. Harley Quinn, and that's going to be a strong contender. And if freaking Suicide Squad can win for this category, then Birds of Prey can get nominated.
Yes, indeed it can. Yes, indeed it can.
But other than that, I do think of the ones that I've seen, I hate to say it, but I feel like One Night in Miami and Emma are strong contenders, but I don't think they'll get it. And the one that I put in as the spoiler, mainly because I have a feeling that it will be, and I don't know where this feeling comes from. I think it was high on the Gold Derby list, was The Little Things. And then the two that they had high on their list that from what I've seen, I agree, they're likely contenders, are Ma Rainey's Black Bottom and Hillbilly Elegy. Those are the,
Amazing film, Hillbilly Elegy. But it is not mentioned on my list yet. I added two to my list. I added Emma and Mulan to my list, mainly because
Mulan was good for makeup too.
I figure Mulan is gonna. If they got 5, I'm sure Mulan is going to guarantee itself on all of the effects lists. But Ma Rainey's, Mank, and Birds of Prey are my 3. But he pretty much hit all of that. And Mank, I will say this. Mank is everything that would normally be in an Oscar-winning film. Anything. This is what Oscar would have gone for in the past. If this was 10 years ago, I would have said Mank is going to clear the fucking field.
Yeah.
This year, not necessarily.
It's hard to call,
Hard to call. It's a lot harder to call, especially with that with last year. Last year kind of like threw out my expectations. Though the year before that
threw them out the window.
in a good way. As opposed to the year beforehand where I was pissed off.
Right.
Right. I guess I'll go to film editing. Oddly enough, I did not like the editing in Tenet, so I did not put it up there. Trial of Chicago 7 had excellent editing and has some excellent buzz around it. One Night in Miami, amazing editing on that one. The Five Bloods, to me, I think this is this one did I think this is the best of the best on this group. Mank and Minari are mine.
Yeah, I actually did not cite Minari or One Night in Miami, but they were both excellent. They really were. I had put Tenet as a last-minute submission. I think I had put Sound of Metal and then scratched it out for Tenet. And this is actually mostly ones I've seen. I have not seen Nomadland, and I picked that as a likely because I think that's going to get a lot of nominations.
Oh, I think so, but we haven't hit it yet.
And then the 3 that I had that I have seen, Mank, The Trial of the Chicago 7, and Defy Bloods. I think all of those are strong likelihoods in that category.
Oh, very good. Well, hit us with the costumes.
All right.
That beautiful costume
I think
footage.
I have that. Yes, beautiful costume footage. Okay, well, this one does have 4 that I've seen. Well, I'm going to be honest. This page, I didn't even have as much time for this, so a lot of these will be ones I saw. I did pick One Night in Miami and Defy Bloods as also Rans here, and a couple others as also Rans. But the one that I have not seen that I picked for costume design was Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. And the ones that I have seen that I picked were Mank, Mulan, Emma, and The Trial of the Chicago 7.
And again, I think that most of our picks are going to be within the same ballpark area. I mean, I don't know if any of our picks are going to be like, you picked that? Wait, what the fuck? Yeah, I doubt that's going to be in any of our minds. I mean, most of these...
You see, we could have so much more fun if they hadn't given us these short lists, you know?
Yeah, I know the short list makes it a lot easier. So, Mulan, obviously. Emma. It's a period freaking piece. The only time I'm giving personal history of David Copperfield a throw on is here. Again,
I thought about that one. Yeah,
excellent costume design in that one. Again, period piece. Period pieces.
And production design, possibly. I didn't write it down, but I thought about it.
Because costume design almost always at least has a ton of period pieces on it. Yeah. Judas and the Black Messiah. There was a lot of cool costume design in that. And one that's not necessarily mentioned is Wonder Woman 84.
Yeah.
Which did have some very good costume design.
It did at that. Yes, it did.
It's an outlier, but I just, you never know. Sometimes those weird ones get in there. And I think that's the only one that it's got a shot at. So, you know. Oh, I guess I'm going to cinematography. Now, this is where I think Tenet has a strong point. But it's Christopher fucking Nolan. What do you want?
Right.
So Tenet, Nomadland makes its first appearance for me with cinematography. That one has a lot of strong buzz around it, and I agree. First Cow has its only appearance on my list here. Da Five Bloods, again. You can see some patterns here. And, of course, Trial of the Chicago 7 for cinematography.
So you had a couple good ones that I didn't actually write down on my list, but... the ones I went with for my list, the ones I have not seen were Tenet, Nomadland, and News of the World. And the ones that I did, Mank is, I think, guaranteed. It's got such gorgeous cinematography. That black and white is just really gorgeous. I think that one has a strong contention. And the other one that I have seen, I did put Da Five Bloods as a possibility for this one. Yeah.
I was actually, I need to see more Spike Lee joints to help me with, but I really did like that one. It was it had a lot of heart in it. That again, I feel like Spike Lee stuff has you can feel more agenda than the rest. But here you could, there's always agenda, but it's just I don't know. Maybe Black Klansman kind of softened him up a little bit to to be in that right balance. Right. Hit us with those production designs.
Okay, so production design. We have, once again, some similar ones and some... I went ahead and wrote on here. I don't think it made the short list, but by... God dang it. I wrote Onward because it had such great production design. But it's not actually one of my picks, but it needs mention. And same thing with Ride Your Wave. The production design in anything by Masaki Yuasa is just... But at any rate, I have not yet seen Tenet or Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, but those two I put down as likely contenders. I saw... And I went ahead and noted Emma here as well in News of the World, but the ones that I put down, other than those two, three that I've seen, I think this is probably the strongest category for Mulan as a contender. It's a really strong category. Mank, again, I think Mank is guaranteed a production design nod.
Yeah.
And the Trial of the Chicago 7 is a pretty solid one, too, I think.
So, I've got Mank, Mulan, Emma, again, those two. Those three we've got in common. Personal history, David Copperfield. I threw that up on again. It's
nice.
It's just so lovely. The seaside, the various settings. It's just, it does itself.
The boathouse.
Yes, the boathouse. Judas and the Black Messiah is my other one that was on your list. And again, it has some amazing settings. The Office of the Black Panthers, a lot of the things that they're doing, the shootouts that they have, the aftermath, everything that they have to deal with. It just, it pops. It does.
Nice.
So best animated feature. The one I'm usually the strongest on each year. And oddly enough, this one, well, not oddly enough, I'm actually consistent because I'm still incredibly strong this year. I've seen a ton of them. I still haven't seen that Crudes feature, but I don't think it's going to get nominated. So this is 4 out of the 5 I feel are guarantees. Soul,
Yeah.
Soul is number 1 guaranteed. It's going to win.
It's going to win.
So, next one. Wolfwalkers is getting a nomination.
It might win.
Onward, getting a nomination, not going to win.
Yeah.
Over the Moon is definitely getting a nomination. I think those are definites. Now, the last one is the spoiler. It could be Croods. It could be these. I'm going to pick... So I decided I'm going to pick a favorite instead. I'm going to pick Lupin the Third, the first, because it has been submitted. It did do incredibly well, and it is a spectacular film on all areas. So I would love to see that in. Plus, if any anime gets it this year, I think that would be a great one because a lot of those representation ones, like Wallace and Gromit and stuff like that. I mean, Lupin is pretty much Japan's Wallace and Gromit. So
Yeah.
hey, why not?
Yeah, I still need to see Lupin Third, the first. Whenever I get over there, I need to borrow it. And then I wrote that down, and I wrote down Ride Your Wave just because, God, I want to see it get a nod. But honestly, I look at it this way. Like you said, Soul going to win. If there is any margin for error, the Wolfwalker is going to take it.
Yeah.
Onward, guaranteed a nod, guaranteed not to win.
Yeah.
Over the Moon, I don't consider guaranteed, but I think it's a strong likelihood. It's probably going to be nominated, and I have seen, of this list, I've seen Onward and Over the Moon, and Onward is the better of the two in my book, but Over the Moon was a great film. I enjoyed it.
Film, man.
It was a solid film. That leaves the last one. I do think the Croods A New Age has a strong possibility of getting the 5th slot. The Willoughbys has a slight chance. I don't know why. It just seems like something that would get the 5th slot.
It's a cute film, but it is, yeah.
I just think from the title it has a possibility, and because the Academy hates anime. But I really do think that they probably will go for a cute film. And you talking about representation, the Academy friggin' loves Aardman Studios. Yeah. So I think Shaun the Sheep movie, Farmageddon, is going to get that 5th spot.
That is a possibility, yes.
Yes.
You know, what's odd is, for once, I actually don't think that the Ghibli film of the year has a shot at even getting it.
Right.
Earwig was, first off, the animation was good, but it was not at the same level as some like Lupin. And two, I mean, to me, I actually do feel it is the very weakest Ghibli film of all the films. And
even more so than Song for Mercy?
Oh, gosh. Okay, well, the ones I've seen, anyway. Have I seen that one?
I thought you saw that.
Which one was that?
Or Tale for Mercy, I'm sorry. Tale for Mercy. You saw that. Yeah, whatever.
Well, yeah. Any case, I have not. I have not seen any that I consider better.
Okay.
So, any case, your go for one of the bigger ones there. Adapted screenplay. We're getting into the big times.
Ooh, yes, we are. And again, here we go. A lot of stuff I have not seen. Some stuff I have. I have not, and most of it I have not read the original source material, or I don't really know it. Like, I know a lot of people consider Borat's subsequent movie film a contender. I have seen the original film and some episodes of the Ali G show, but most of it I do not know the source material particularly well. Of the ones I have not seen, I think Nomadland and Ma Rainey's Black Bottom are pretty solidly likely to get the nod here. And The Father seems like a very strong probability as well. News of the World, The Life Ahead in the United States versus Billie Holiday caught my attention as possibles. But I think the last two, I'm going to go with two films I did see, which were One Night in Miami. And this is the one that I thought was going to end up being the token nod for First Cow. I think that it has a strong chance in the category, and the Academy will want to give it a token nod, considering that every freaking critic around the country said it was one of the top 5 films of the year. It will get a nod.
I certainly do disagree with those critics. So my 5 are interesting. One Night in Miami definitely is on my list as well. Let me see. That's the only one I think that mirrors our lists. Nomadland I've got on my list.
Okay.
Because that's an adapted, and it's like just so big everywhere, including Critics' Choice. The Mauritanian. I think that has a super strong shot. Hillbilly Elegy, I think, has a good shot here. Again, excellent film. And the one that's the weakest contender for me is The Personal History of David Copperfield.
I thought about that one because it was such an unhinged adaptation of Dickens that I thought it might be a fun one.
Was A Promising Young Woman adapted or original?
Original.
Okay. Well, I'm going into that, so I guess that's there. So, I did not put that one as original, but I know it's very strong as a contender. What I do have is Trial of the Chicago 7, amazing piece. Minari, amazing piece. Mank, because it's, well, you know.
Right.
Because it's Oscar bait. Judas and the Black Messiah, again, great piece of work. And then Defy Bloods. But if I was to, if one of them had to go, I would probably put Promising Young Woman in there because it's got such a high chance of being on there.
Now, of the ones I have not seen, I did put Promising Young Woman and Soul on my list. And I think they're both solid contenders, but if I'm to be perfectly honest, now that I think about it, I hate to do this. I hate to do this. I really do. But if I'm to be honest, I don't think Soul is going to be able to beat Judas and the Black Messiah.
Nope.
So I'm going to put that down instead. Judas and the Black Messiah, Promising Young Woman, Soul, Defy Bloods, On the Rocks, and Sound of Metal, and Kajillionaire all deserve a shout out, but they're not going to get it. What is going to get it, other than the two that I said, I do have 3 films I've seen. I think Mank is guaranteed a nod. It's about the guy who co-wrote Citizen Kane. It's going to get a screenplay nod. I mean, that's a given. And then Trial of the Chicago 7 looks like probably the favorite to win.
Yeah.
And Minari, I think, is one of its strongest chances is in this category. So those are the ones I'm going with.
I agree.
Yeah.
Good choices. Good choices. All right, now we get into actresses, and we starting to get into some areas of contentions and politicses. But
politicses.
We'll talk
those
about
pesky
those
politicses.
We'll talk about those contentions and politicses as we go. But go for it.
Okay, so you said it's me first,
supporting actress. Yeah.
Okay, supporting actress. Okay. So this is kind of an odd one. I'm going to be honest. I didn't quite get to making these lists, so I'm going to be making it on the fly.
You got this.
I've got what's that?
You got this.
I got this. There are 3 people who have won at this point. Let me see here. Are they? They got nominations. From the Globes, the SAG, and the Critics' Choice. Those are Olivia Coleman for The Father, Glenn Close for Hillbilly Elegy, and Maria Bakalova for Borat's subsequent movie film. I think the likelihood that all 3 of them will repeat at Oscar is pretty friggin' solid. especially considering who we're talking about. Coleman was a surprised Oscar winner a couple of years ago. Close, they're still saying she's going to win one day. She's going to win one day. And so many people raved about Bakalova's performance. And you got to admit, to be able to not break character in those situations, it takes some skill.
Oh, yeah.
Other than those, the big favorites, I think, seems to be Amanda Seyfried for Mank. And I do think she was pretty friggin' solid in the movie. And there's several others. I'd love to say Olivia Cook for Sound of Metal, but I don't think she's going to get it. Jodie Foster possibly for The Mauritanian. But I really do think that the last one's probably going to go to Oscar darling Saoirse Ronan for Ammonite.
Yeah. So I have a different list on mine. So, of course, there are some that are there. I mean, actually, there's only two that really mirror each other. Maria Bakalova for Borat. Yes, that performance is there. And Glenn Close for Hillbilly Elegy. Oh my freaking God. It was an amazing performance. You've watched this. Have you seen this one yet?
No.
You need to see it. You need to go see it. Matter of fact, stop right now, go see it, come back. In any case, it is a
This will be a long video.
it is, as somebody who grew up in the South, and you understand this as well.
Right.
I grew up in the mountains, very similar concepts, and I knew this person that she was playing. That's how well it was. I felt like and you know when an acting portrayal is that good that you're like,
right.
I know this person. I knew this person in life.
Right.
That just shows. Does it sound like I have a favorite here? But in any case, there's Yu Jung Yeon for Minari. She played the grandmother, I believe, and she did a really good job with that. Swanky from Nomadland. I think Swanky has actually got a shot at even taking the award, just because of her part in that. And then there's Deborah Johnson is my kind of low-end one for Judas and the Black Messiah. I didn't think she did a lot, but I feel like she's going to be like that one.
Okay.
I still need to see the father, so I can't really judge on that.
You got a couple there that aren't even on the Gold Derby list. Good times.
Though I
you know one
lists,
that they. What's that?
I've heard Swanky and Deborah Johnson on like 3 other lists, so that's still they're on.
They
there.
do for Judas and the Black Messiah. They do list Dominic Fishback as a possibility, but I'm intrigued that one that we did both see that they actually have as a possible contender is Tilda Swinton for The Personal History of David Copperfield. She was a hoot in that movie. I'll give her that. But yeah.
We're not going to truly get into the politics until we get to actor and actress.
Probably, yeah.
Especially actress.
Not as much.
Actress is where I have my own issues. But you get to lead us with actress. But we're going to start with actor, best supporting actor. For me, we had some strong performances. I have here as Jeslie Odom Jr. for One Night in Miami. He did an excellent job there. Sacha Baron Cohen for Trial of Chicago 7. And while we're on Trial of Chicago 7, let's throw Eddie Redmayne in there as well. They both worked very well as a pair there. Daniel Kaluuya has a very strong shot with Judas and the Black Messiah. I think he has the strongest shot, as a matter of fact. But politics does leer its little head here a little bit, because I am about 80% positive that Chadwick Boseman is going to get nominated for The Five Bloods.
Possibly.
I'm not 100% because of another reason, but I do think that he has a very good shot at being nominated for reasons of he died. So that's my take.
Right. And I'm kind of curious here. I'm just curious one thing before I launch into my particular, whether they're counting this person as actor or supporting actor. Okay, they're going lead actor. Okay, I think I can go with that. So anyway, for supporting actor, again, looking at the people who have been nominated by the Globes, the SAG, and the Critics' Choice, once again, we find 3. One of them is Daniel Kaluuya for Judas and the Black Messiah. 2 of the others, I have seen the films, and I fully can agree that Sacha Baron Cohen is going to get a nod for Trial of the Chicago 7, and Leslie Odom Jr. more than probably will be the one representing for One Night in Miami. Now, I have to say, the one who played, okay, so Aldous Hodge was one of them in that movie. He played Jim Brown. Who was it what played Malcolm X? Both of them were pretty incredible.
I have him up for actor.
Oh, you think so? Yeah. Okay, I'll look.
Because he's actually on the list for. He's on one of the lists for actors. Okay.
So that makes sense, I guess. I thought of it as more of an ensemble film myself.
Me too, but
and then and same thing with Defy Bloods, but we'll get to that in a minute. What I was looking up. So my top 3, like I said, are going to be the 3 that have already, because we remember last year every actor was rubber stamped. Once they started, they kept rubber stamping, and I can't help thinking it's going to happen again.
Yeah.
But Cohen was great. Odom Jr. was great. He apparently is in Hamilton as well. That dude can sing. He did a good job as Sam Cooke. And then, like I said, Kaluuya is awesome, so I'll go with that. I just think it's bullshit that movie's nominated because it's February 12th, 2021. But anyway, I do agree Boseman is a contender, but I think it's more likely he'll be up for lead actor. We'll get to that in a bit.
We'll get to that.
The one that I would love to see, he has been snubbed by several several of these so far, so it's not a guarantee. But I would love to see Paul Raci nominated for Sound of Metal because he was brilliant in that film. And he's considered a strong contender. He just doesn't have a lot of nominations yet to back it up.
Yeah.
Similarly, I'd love to see Mark Rylance for the Trial of the Chicago 7. He was great in that film. But I think when it comes down to it, politics sort of thing. The Academy likes known quantities. I could see that last slot going to Bill Murray for On the Rocks.
That'd be interesting.
He's overdue for another nod,
Yeah. Would be interesting.
Yeah. So.
All right. Well,
take
us away for those actresses nominees.
Yep. This actresses.
I have issues with this category, but you go ahead.
Oh yeah, I'm leading off. Okay, let's look at this. So, the 4 who have been nominated by all three awards bodies are Carey Mulligan for Promising Young Woman, Frances McDormand for Nomadland, Vanessa Kirby for Pieces of a Woman, and Viola Davis for Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. I definitely think Mulligan, McDormand, and Davis are guaranteed to be nominated, and I think Kirby is a very likely probability. Although Andra Day could get that slot for the United States versus Billie Holiday. And I really would like, is it Yeri Han, the one who played the mother in Minari? I think she is.
Yeah, she's got talk.
I think she should be in the mix, and I would really like to see her do that. But honestly, I have a feeling that slot will again go to more of a known quantity because the Academy just doesn't do that. And I'm going to probably go with Rosamund Pike for I Care a Lot or Kate Winslet for Ammonite. I'll go with Winslet because it seems more likely. Ammonite has a lot of buzz behind it, and I think that's one of the main reasons.
Well, so let's go with the two first off for mine that I think are, well, I'll go with the one that I think is definitely going to get nominated that definitely deserves it. Carey Mulligan for Promising Young Woman. So, now on to the rest. So, Frances McDormand, I did not feel like she gave a very strong performance, but I think she's going to get a nomination anyway. She may even win, because I think she did win one of them. I can't remember which one. For Nomadland. Again, Viola Davis, I think she's going to get it because she's Viola Davis. Her performance was good, but it wasn't anything out of the way special. But I think she's going to get that because she's Viola Davis. I think that Meryl Streep is going to get it because she's freaking Meryl Streep. And politics-wise, she's got a fairly strong role for Let Them All Talk. And I do think that she is going to get that. Is
she in the mix for lead or support for that one?
Lead. She was in lead.
Okay, I don't even think she's on the Gold Derby list. Huh.
But I do think that the Oscars have that thing to nominate her.
Right.
You know.
Yeah,
and,
that's true.
My last slot is one that I am saving for me, which I'm putting as Sophia Loren for The Life Ahead. Sophia Loren came out of retirement for many years for this role, and she crushed it. To me, if this was a fair year, she should take this freaking Oscar. She deserves it. She should have gotten the win. The film debuted too late to be submitted for international feature, which is bullshit considering as they gave 2 extra months for the rest of the films.
And it's November 13. You see my point.
So, but
it's November 13.
Which I guess leaves the film open for next year, theoretically. But, it's...
No, it wouldn't. It wouldn't.
I mean, for international feature, I mean.
Yeah, for international feature, it was eligible in all the other.
That's if she gets no. I mean, if this film doesn't get a single nomination, then I think would still be eligible. But I think that she deserves it. She was amazing. She was the best actress of the year, period. Also ran, if I could kick Meryl Streep off of my list, but I think that she's going to stick, is for, what's her name, is Rosamund Pike for I Care a Lot. She does a good job of playing the most despicable character of all time that we all love to hate. All right.
And I do also want to make a quick note here. Okay. This is one of the reasons anyone listening who's connected to the Academy or the Hollywood Foreign Press or anyone like that, take note of these dates. January 31st, 2020. That's when The Assistant came out. Julia Garner crushed that role. February 21st, that's when Emma came out. Anya Taylor-Joy crushed that role. February 28th, that's when The Invisible Man came out. Elizabeth Moss crushed that role. March 13th, that's when Never, Rarely, Sometimes, Always came out. Sydney Flanagan crushed that role. All 4 of them should be in the conversation. Gold Derby has them listed as possible contenders, but those were all solid Oscar-level performances that came out before the pandemic hit. We did not need 2 extra months to get 5 solid contenders. And that's, that's what up.
So we're going to go with Best Actor. So, I think it's to be said that we lost an amazing person, we lost a lot of amazing people in 2020. It was a terrible year, and we lost, and Chadwick Boseman, his loss is definitely felt. And because of that, he's going to get a nod. But I think he's not only going to get the nod, he's going to get the win for Best Actor for Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. I think that's the only one that needs to be mentioned. But in case you wanted to hear other possibilities for the role, Steve Yeun from Minari, I think he's got a good shot. A lot of people are really trying to talk it up because he'd be like the first Asian male nominated for that category, from what I've been told.
No, he's not the first, but he'd be one of the first.
Well, if he won, I guess that would be the case. Or has there been an Asian?
I think he's the first one. What's that?
Has there been an Asian winner for Best Actor though?
Actually, didn't Ben Kingsley win a couple times?
But
I think he did win a couple of times.
He would be. It would be good to have that representation,
right?
If anything, maybe for South Korean, anyway.
Yeah, I was going to say I think he is the first South Korean who would be up for the,
Tahar Rahim for the Mauritanian. I mean, my God, his ability to do this was just like, it was an amazing job. Riz Ahmed for Sound of Metal, obviously. Sound of Metal did sneak on my list.
Right.
And finally, Kingsley Ben Adir for One Night in Miami. Again, amazing portrayal of Malcolm X.
Right. And Riz Ahmed, on what you were just talking about, he's British, but he's of Pakistani descent, so he would count as Asian as well. And of the actors who were nominated at the Globe, SAG, and Critics' Choice, Chadwick Boseman, Riz Ahmed, Gary Oldman, and Anthony Hopkins, for Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, Sound of Metal, Mank, and The Father. Personally, I really do think Oldman was great in Mank, but he's done better work. He is criminally underrepresented by Oscar, but he's done better work. So I'm not sure that he really would need that slot. And I would happily give it to Stephen Yeun because he did a great job. So I will go with that. But definitely Boseman he deserves a nod. I haven't seen the film, but I've heard he's phenomenal in the film. I heard a clip from it, so I heard a little bit of it. And he was good in Defy Bloods, but he's done better work than he did in the Defy Bloods. But if he won, if he gets double nominated, he'll be the first posthumous double nominee, I think, which will be an interesting and morbid thing. But Riz Ahmed was phenomenal in Sound of Metal. He deserves that nomination, and he will probably get it. And I've not seen The Father, but from what I've heard, it's one of Hopkins' best roles, and he's done some good roles. The one who keeps getting Kingsley Ben Adir was the one that played Malcolm X. You're right. Gold Derby has him listed on the top role. They also list Tom Hanks for News of the World, Mads Mikkelsen for Another Round. And from what I've heard, both of them are integral to those films. But the one that I have seen who has been overlooked by several awards organizations, and he has already been called out as a repeat snub. And I guarantee you, if the Oscars don't nominate him, this will be lauded as one of the biggest, or decried as one of the biggest snubs of the year, is Delroy Lindo for Defy Bloods. I think he has a solid chance. He is overdue for Oscar love. He put his all into that role. He took a despicable, unlikable person and made him someone you could root for. He did a good job, and he deserves a nod, and I think he'll get it. Yeah.
Well, so take us on with Best Director.
And actually, here's another, just a quick thought here. If they do go with what I say, and you got Lindo, Hopkins, Boseman, Riz Ahmed, and Steven Yeun, you'd have 2 people of African descent, 2 people of Asian descent, and only 1 old white guy. So that's actually a very strong consideration for them.
One old white guy in a film we'll never get to see.
So, what's up? Director, right?
Yep.
Okay, what are our options for director? We have got a fascinating race because we could end up with multiple female directors this year, which is very interesting. I, again, had not made up my list here, but I'm going to say right off the top of my head, Aaron Sorkin, Trial of the Chicago 7, David Fincher for Mank, both very, very, very likely to get a nod. Emerald Fennell for Promising Young Woman and Chloe Zhao for Nomadland, also very, very likely to get a nod. And again, if that happens, we'd have 2 female directors. We could have 3. Regina King for One Night in Miami is a contender.
Yeah, is a contender.
So are Lee Isaac Chung for Minari and Spike Lee for Da 5 Bloods. I'm going to kind of ignore everyone else and just pretend those are our contenders just to make it easy. I think in the end, in a perfect world, either Sorkin or Fincher would sit this one out.
Yeah.
Even though both films were excellent and it was largely on the strength of the directing, I love to see diversity in this category. I really do. And I want to see some of this. I think, though, that they are likely to get it. I think Chloe Zhao is the strongest third. Yeah. She is. So many people are raving about Nomadland. People have been raving about her for years. I'm going to go with the 3 of them, Emerald Fennell and Lee Isaac Chung.
So
I may be wrong, but that's what I'm going with.
You've mentioned pretty much all but one of the ones that I've got on there, but my list is Lee Isaac Chung for Minari. Again, it's just too strong a film to ignore. David Fincher is definitely. Chloe Zhao is definitely. I mean, Mank and Nomadland's already had so many directorial love that it's going to get. Spike Lee is one I think is going to get it, but it may not for Da 5 Bloods. And the one that hasn't been mentioned is Shaka King for Judas and the Black Messiah.
Yeah, that's a likelihood too. Yeah.
So finally, we're at the Best Pictures. 9. 9.
Yep. 9.
So, there's a lot of ones. Just to say a couple that were that I left off the list that probably could have, like Promising Young Woman. Probably I left that off the list, but could just as easily get it. I'm sure The Father will be on there. News of the World could possibly be on there, but I haven't seen them, so I didn't feel like I should put them on. And again, all the contenders I have a chance of going on, but seeing them gives me that extra boost as to whether I should put them on or not. So the 9 I've got are One Night in Miami, The Mauritanian, Judas and the Black Messiah, Minari, Sound of Metal, Nomadland, Mank, Da 5 Bloods, and Hillbilly Elegy. Those are the ones. I mean, as I said, I love Hillbilly Elegy. I don't think it's going to win anything. It might win the supporting actress, but I strongly don't think it's going to. But I really do feel it deserves that. All those amazing films, all of them, I think, deserve those nominations.
Okay. So I'm going to momentarily ignore the Gold Derby and just kind of go down my list of the top-ranked ones I have. Because, you know what, at this point, I'd rather just go with my favorites for at least 5 of the slots. I have my top 2 films of the year currently are Sound of Metal and The Trial of the Chicago 7. And I have Mank at number 5. So I have no problem putting the three of them forward. I've got Defy Bloods at number 7, and Minari at 11. I think all of those are very, 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 very solid films. They're likely to be in the mix. One of them may not make it, but I think all of those are very likely. Mank and The Trial of the Chicago 7, I would say, are guaranteed. I mean, they're guaranteed top 9. If we actually get a top 10, that would open up some stuff. And if it's fewer than that. But I'd say even if we have a 6, those two are still going to be in there. Other than that,
10 because of the fact they're adding 2 extra months. Might as well add extra numbers.
Yeah, there might as. Yeah, it always pissed me off. They have 10. They always leave at least one off that should have been nominated. Why not just go to 10? At least go to 11. So I've mentioned 5 directly off of my list. I'm going to go with The Mauritanian as a likelihood because I've heard so much about that. Nomadland is guaranteed a nomination. I think Promising Young Woman is likely, and friggin' Judas and the Black Messiah just seems super likely. And I'm probably going to have that as the top 9. If we are going to say that they actually did go to 10, I would put up, I haven't said The Father yet, right?
No.
I would say it would either be The Father or One Night in Miami for that 10th spot, or Soul if we're super lucky. But I don't think we will be. That's hard to say. I'll go with The Father for the 10th spot just because we're not that lucky, I'm sure.
Well, that's our lists. Now, I wanted to go ahead and reward y'all for who stayed to the end. But going through, since I did a lot of research, I wanted to share the wealth with the rest of you. So the ones that we mentioned, I'm going to go ahead and let you know where I found some of these. And of course, Jake, if you hear I didn't mention one that I go into, that I don't go into, let me know. I might be able to throw out. So out of the ones I've watched, A Son is on Netflix right now. All In, The Fight for Democracy is on Amazon Prime. Let's see. And, of course, American Pie Presents Girls Rules, which you can get on... No, just kidding. Birds of Prey is on HBO Max, if you want to get at it.
And it's also on physical media. You should mention the ones you know are on physical media, because not everyone likes to stream.
Bloodshot is physical media release, and... I don't know if it's on any streaming. Borat, subsequent movie film, is on Amazon. Let's see here. Collective, to my knowledge, it's on physical, obviously, if you see the pickups we do this week. But it is also available to rent on Amazon and YouTube for about $7. Crip Camp is on Netflix. The Five Bloods on Netflix. Dear Comrades on Hulu. Dick Johnson is Dead on Netflix. Emma on HBO Max. And I think it's on physical, isn't it?
It is also on physical. I have a copy.
First Cow is definitely on physical, but it's also on Showtime.
I have a copy.
I want to watch that. Let's see here. Hillbilly Elegy is on Netflix. I Care a Lot is on Netflix. I'm No Longer Here. That was one I thought, right? That was the Mexican one, on Netflix. No, not that one. Judas and the Black Messiah may or may not still be on HBO Max, depending on when you hear this. La Llorona on Shudder. Let Them All Talk, if you really want to see if Meryl Streep actually deserves that nomination. It's on HBO.
She's not the only one in the cast that's been talked about, though, so it might be worth seeing.
Yeah, it might be worth it. The Life Ahead on Netflix. Let's see here. The Little Things you mentioned, that one's on HBO. Lupin the First is on physical, and it is on Amazon for $4 for renting. Ma Rainey's on Netflix. Mank on Netflix. The Mauritanian is currently, I think it's on Prime to buy, but it's like $20. Midnight Sky is Netflix. Minari, I don't know if it's on anything, but if it is, it's probably expensive.
It is. Minari is from A24 Films. I don't know what they do.
Oh yeah, they do their own. So they do. Yeah, they do like a $30, $20 to $30.
And the Mauritanian, according to Gold Derby's on STX, whatever that is, or it's from STX. I don't know what that means.
The Mole Agent is on Hulu, and you should see it. Mulan is on Disney Plus, and physical. I'm not sure I'd want to pay for either. Only if it wins. Only if it wins. Let's see here. Nomadland is on Hulu. One Night in Miami on Amazon. Onward on Disney Plus and physical. Over the Moon is on Netflix. Pieces of Woman, you were talking about that. That's on Netflix. Promising Young Woman, I feel like...
it's coming out next week.
Yep, on physical. You should check out our new release, I think.
Yep.
Psycho Ape, obviously, is on physical. Let's see here. Ride Your Wave is on HBO Plus, by the way. If you wanted to, if you thought it might have a chance. Soul is on
physical,
and Soul is on Disney Plus. Not quite on physical yet. Might not make it in time for the Oscars. Tenet's been on physical, but it's about $6 on Amazon. Trial of Chicago 7 on Netflix. Did we mention The Way Back? I don't.
No, but that's on physical. And The Way Back is a long shot actor contender, a very long shot, but it's a good movie.
Welcome to Chechnya is on HBO Max. And Way Back is on HBO, by the way. Wolfwalkers is Apple Plus. Wonder Woman 84 used to be on HBO. I think they've taken it off by this point.
I think so.
So, but you can buy it on physical. Is it on physical yet?
I don't think they've done physical yet. No,
but I think that you can buy. I think you can buy streaming.
Is it on DC's streaming service? Do you know?
I am not sure. I don't keep track on that one.
That would make sense.
So the ones I haven't watched, you mentioned Ammonite. It's on YouTube for $6. Another Round on Amazon for $7. Let's see here. The Croods. The only thing I can see it's on it's either you can rent it for $20 or buy it physically. Rather buy it physically.
I was going to say we did that 2 weeks ago. I think it came out on physical.
So yeah, I'd rather do that. If it gets nominated, I'll just get the physical. The Father is not available to my knowledge right now, unless you can physically get to a theater.
It is in theaters.
Yes. Let's see here. Let's see, what other ones were there?
Well, while he's looking, the ones that I threw out in that one big blast of where I was mentioning, he already mentioned Emma, but The Invisible Man, The Assistant, and Never, Rarely, Sometimes, Always are all on physical and can be bought or checked out easily enough.
On HBO Max, Invisible Man. News of the World, not on physical to my knowledge, but
I think that's still in theaters too.
And it's $20 to rent on Amazon.
Oh my!
This is why I haven't seen it. On the Rocks, that was loosely mentioned. It can be watched on Apple TV. I just haven't bothered.
Okay.
The One and Only Ivan's been talked about for documentary, which is on Disney Plus.
Documentary? Is that a documentary?
It's about
I know there's a book. I thought it was based on the book.
Let's see here. I know Palm Springs has also gotten a lot of clamor.
Right.
That's on Hulu. Like I say, I've done Sun Children, to my knowledge, hasn't. I don't know of where it is. Time is available on Amazon.
Cherry's on Apple Plus. I've
Yeah.
never even heard of that until a few days ago. And then what's this one that Tom Hanks is attached to? Greyhound. Do you know anything about that, or where you can find it?
Is I've got it. I think it is on. It's on Apple Plus.
Okay.
And
Part of the reason I never heard of it.
Two of Us is available to stream for $7 on your typical servers. Theoretically, if you really think Trolls World Tour is going to win the animated feature, it's on Hulu.
Did you mention Farmageddon? I don't recall.
I didn't.
That's on Netflix, apparently.
Yeah. And
there's an animated one called Bombay Rose that's on Netflix.
The Willoughbys is also.
Scoob is available on physical.
Willoughby is
the
also,
Willoughbys is on Netflix. And
Hunt-
Ongaku Our Sound just came out on physical.
the Truffle
And
Hunter,
The Whisker Away. What's that?
Truffle Hunters is one that had a big talk for a documentary, which is not available to my knowledge. Two of Us is available for $7. United States versus Billie Holiday is on Hulu. So, you know, a lot of things. World to Come, Amazon, $1.99. And The White Tiger I've heard about, which is also on Netflix. So
Yeah, I've heard a lot.
So you got lots of places that you can find some of this stuff. You know, the one that pisses me off the most is The Father, because that's the one that's going to be the hardest to catch.
Right. There's always one. There's always one.
So
And then, okay, and I'll just mention again, I think it's kind of bullshit that the Academy is not recognizing the Small Axe films, but they're available on Apple.
yeah,
And not Apple, Amazon, whatever. And Netflix is where I found Blow the Man Down, which is a great film that no one's even talking about. And similarly, The Gentleman is a great film no one's talking about that's on physical media. You know, My Hero Academia, Heroes Rising, that's on physical media. That was a good film. And The Vast of Night was a really good one that's on Netflix. I'm surprised no one's talking about that, but you know. And then The Fat Man. Great film. It's on physical.
obviously Best Picture winner.
It could be.
I hope you have enjoyed this.
Right.
Hit that like button, hit that subscribe, and next week we'll be doing our reactions to the nominees. We haven't decided whether we're going to try and get other people on or not, or just leave the two of us. Probably.
It might be fun to see if we can get everyone on. I'm
just trying to think of like time.
Yeah.
But
Well, I don't think we'll run as late next week. I hope not.
But in any case, well, it was a good discussion. I thought I had some fun with it. So
Yep.
hope you all enjoy this. I will see you all on the next one.